Welcome, everyone. This is Christian Duke. You're watching StrengthAddicts.com. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the current events of our country, what we're seeing here in terms of number 45, President Donald Trump. And this is going to be a political live. So if you come in here and you join the chat and you want to say something, guys, today we're not talking bodybuilding, we're talking politics. I'm probably going to hang out here for maybe half an hour. We'll see how that goes. You know, a lot of people often ask me, they say, well, isn't Strength Addicts a bodybuilding channel? Well, Strength Addicts is Christian Duke, and Christian Duke is Strength Addicts. So I like politics. I like bodybuilding. I like food. I like drinks. I like reviewing, I don't know, supplements. This one sponsors us, Blackstone Labs. We got, where's my, all sorts of stuff here. Titan Medical, sponsors of Strength Addicts. But today, I want to talk about POTUS. He's still POTUS for about 45 days, Donald J. Trump. And, today, get the phone here. Today, I saw something that I thought was really interesting. Okay. Rudy Giuliani, who you guys know is President Trump's lead counsel for his legal team. He put out a tweet. You can go to Rudy Giuliani and check this out. And says, quote, Republican legislature let America down. I'm ashamed of them. They completely misled the president and me. A lot of us Republicans let them know what we think. What's up, Julian Smith? How are you? You better worry about January 20th when Letitia James is coming for him. Well, we'll get to that in a second, Julian, and your point's well taken. I appreciate it. Because, right now, there's a call by a lot of lawmakers to pressure the bars that license Rudy Giuliani. And I'm assuming that he probably has a New York bar license. I'm assuming that he probably has a DC bar license. The DC bar is very, very easy to pass, but you need to be licensed in at least one state, I believe. So he's probably licensed in New York. Rudy Giuliani in the 1980s and early 1990s was instrumental in breaking up the New York City mafia, La Cosa Nostra. So, in his day, he was a very, very good attorney. What he's become is a bit of a joke. I mean, these cases that they're filing in federal court, in state court, in local court are laughable. The evidence that they have, we're going to talk about the evidence here in a little bit with Lindsey Graham, who, Lindsey Graham, I don't know if you guys remember, but way back when, Donald Trump released Lindsey Graham's phone number because he didn't like Lindsey Graham. And from that, Lindsey Graham's become slowly but surely one of the strongest, most staunch Trump supporters that there have ever been. But now, Lindsey Graham is like, wait, we need evidence. So it's not just Mitt Romney over there in Utah. Now it's people like Lindsey Graham saying, we need evidence. And a couple nights ago, President Trump released what was, I believe, a 60-minute or 70-minute tirade, essentially. And he was showing all these graphs and nonsense. He didn't let the White House press corps know about it. It's almost like he just decided that, hey, let's turn the lights on like I have on here. Let's turn the lights on and let me just go speak to the country. Now, CNN didn't carry it. Fox News only carried bits. And, Fox News has actually become a little resistant to Trump. They don't really like what he's doing because, on January, and actually, Julian's talking about January 20th when the new president comes in and the old president goes out. But on January 5th is that runoff election in Georgia. And, Trump is hurting that runoff election in Georgia. Sidney Powell, who was briefly part of the Trump legal team until she was booted, has filed a lawsuit in Georgia, a couple of them actually. And one of the things Sidney Powell said was to Republicans to boycott the runoff election. And so Republicans are freaking out because they're like, if even 1% of the Republicans boycott the runoff election in Georgia, then the two Democrats are going to win, which I would love. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat either. I'm a Democratic socialist. I was a Bernie Sanders delegate for Kentucky. But I mean, if I have to pick between the lesser of two evils, of course I'm going to pick the Democrats. But Trump is hurting those two runoff races. And it's almost like he's saying, he'll go down there, 2 or 3 times or however many times he needs to go. But I almost think like those two candidates would prefer if he didn't even go. Mike Pence is going down there because Mike Pence is trying to save his political ass. You know what I mean? Because Mike Pence is going to go down with a sinking ship. Donald Trump can announce a candidacy for 2024. We all know that from here to 2024, the never Trumpers and all the Republicans that never like Trump, like Ted Cruz, like Mitch McConnell, they're going to figure out another candidate. Trump will not get the nomination again. Trump will be done on January 20th. He won't be president again. And so Mike Pence wants to, preserve whatever political significance he still has, and then, spend the next 4, 8, 12, 16 years doing damage control. And then maybe one day he'll be able to run for president and have, a prayer of a chance of winning. So, it's just one of those things. So, but I don't think Trump's gotten the memo yet that his party's flipping. And so what he's trying to do, which I find to be laughable, is he's trying to purge the Pentagon, the DOJ, even departments like HUD, where he's got Ben Carson. He's trying to maintain control as best as he can. That's why his press secretary has been doing press conferences at a point in time where he's essentially a lame duck president. Nobody cares what his administration has to say. All people want to know is what, President-elect Biden's going to do and his transition team. They don't care about what a president who has less than 50 days left in the White House has to say. But he's acting as if he is going into a second term. Part of the title of this video deals with Rudy Giuliani's fart. Now, how can I go from everything I've been talking about to Rudy Giuliani's fart? Well, yesterday, Rudy Giuliani was speaking to an assembly, and he ripped 2 of them. And he was like, it was almost like he was sitting in his living room, and Jenna Ellis, his co-counsel, sits next to him, and Jenna didn't, laugh at him or storm away, but you could see her face like she just got farted on twice. Rudy Giuliani is so, I don't want to say that he's senile. He's not senile, but he's definitely not senile, but he's making $20,000 a day according to Yahoo News. So he's going to milk this all the way to the bank. He doesn't want the legal fight to end. 20,000. Okay, so there's another at least 40 days left. He's got closer to 50, but at least another 40 days left. As long as Rudy Giuliani doesn't have to pack up the legal team and go back to New York, wherever the hell he lives, 40 times 20, my friends, 40 times 20, this guy's going to make $800,000. Is my math right? I think it is. He's going to make a lot of money, guys. He's going to make almost $1 million by carrying on this charade. I don't know what Jenna Ellis is making. If Rudy's making 20, she's probably making at least, 8. Not because she's a woman, but because she's the co-counselor. So maybe she's making 12. Though I wouldn't be surprised in the Trump White House, women making less than men, because, would you call Trump a progressive? I wouldn't. Is it progressive for men and women to make the same? No, it should be the norm, but it's not. So therefore it is progressive. Right-wingers don't support it. I watch a gentleman named Jesse Lee Peterson just for, shits and giggles, and you should get a load of that guy and what he has to say about women. It's shameful. It's shameful that 2 people do the exact same job and get paid different amounts of money because of their gender. And what's even crazier is a lot of times the women do a better job than the men and they make less than the men. But anyways, I digress. So, Rudy's going to make close to $1 million. He's made well over that by now. And he's just out of it. He's farting. He's setting press conferences at landscaping businesses between crematoriums and porno theaters or adult bookstores. Excuse me. It's such a big difference, And the legal theories, and this is something too that I think is really, really eye-opening, is that Rudy says one thing in press conferences and then says another thing in court under oath. Or not even under oath, but in court, on the record. And he's real careful on the record. And this has been pointed out before. You know, when he's been sorts of things, and his goal, as with this tweet, I mean, this tweet really says it all. He's saying in this tweet, he's directing. Now, Rudy's got, I don't know how many people follow Rudy on Twitter. Let's see. Just curious. Really got about 500,000. Let's see. No, he's got Rudy Giuliani has got 1.2 million followers on Twitter. That's crazy. And I actually read you the concise version of that tweet. It's longer. It's longer. Hold on, I'm not like not a savvy Twitter user, so I still have to. He might have erased it, but I don't think he would have. Let's see here. Here we go. So he says he wants all Republicans to basically all of us Republicans, let them know what we think of them, and them is the Republican legislature. You've let down America. I'm ashamed of you. They completely misled the president and me. I mean, it's like, you know, and what did they do? They did not go along with the theory that this was, you know, a stolen election, #StopTheSteal, that they didn't vote to decertify an election because there was no evidence. They should have voted to decertify it because that would have meant they were good Republicans. In Trump's mind, he put 3 justices on the Supreme Court. In Trump's mind, 1/3 of the Supreme Court was there because of him, so they owe him. Well, that's not how a court works. You know, you appoint a judge to be impartial, not so he can scratch your back or she can scratch your back when you need him. That's nepotism. That's corrupt. That is corruption. And then you go over to Lindsey Graham, and we talked about Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was probably Trump's strongest ally. And what's Lindsey Graham doing? Lindsey Graham is simply saying, I want to see evidence. I don't want to see more videos. I want to see evidence. You know what I mean? And for that may cost him a lot of favor. A lot of Republicans now are looking at Lindsey Graham as a Judas. You know, oh, we knew all along. You were just waiting for the moment where you were going to turn on Trump. And he hasn't. He's just asking for the evidence. He wants to see the evidence. Look at what happened to Tucker Carlson when he pressed Sidney Powell for evidence. For a moment there, a lot of Republicans turned on I hate that guy, on Tucker Carlson. I hate him because Tucker Carlson is probably the epitome of neocon. But even the epitome of neocon, if you question Trump, then they turn on you. And they is a consistently smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller nucleus of hardcore supporters. But that nucleus is still able to scare people or to keep people in line, like a Mitch McConnell, who's a coward, who's been in the Senate for 40 years and didn't even like Trump and could stand up to Trump, but doesn't want to break from the fold. You know, Rand Paul doesn't like Trump. He doesn't want to break from the fold. Ted Cruz almost beat Trump, but he doesn't want to break from the fold. You know, hold on, guys. This computer's going to turn off if I don't plug it in. Good. So it's just like one of those things. I've got like so many things going on here. I've got like lights and the mics and the cameras and the phones. It's just like I got amps over here. It's pretty crazy. But nobody wants to break. So even though this nucleus keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, it still wields considerable influence when it comes to keeping the forces in line. House of Representatives, Senate, state legislatures, you know, local GOP officials. I mean, I just saw a rally in Georgia that OANN, I think it's called. There's a couple of them, OANN and NDP or something. I don't know what they're called. There's like 2 or 3 of these really, really right-wing, like internet-based. Newsmax is another one. But these other ones here are even more than Newsmax, which is hard to believe. But they're like ultra right-wing, you know, internet-based news agencies or whatever. And they do a good job. It's just I don't agree with anything they have to say. And they tend to give credence to Trump and his lunacy. But I mean, they did a 10-hour video shoot of a protest in Georgia, guys, for 10 hours. These people were like, they took over like a whole city block, and they had their Trump banners, and it was very powerful. Now, they don't represent the Republican Party. They don't represent conservatives. They may not even represent, I don't know, a very, very small sliver, but it is a very influential sliver. It's a sliver that has somehow been able to keep career politicians, not to call them bureaucrats like Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, but even more than Rand Paul. Rand Paul's only been there a term, maybe two. Mitch McConnell's been there for like half a century. But that little nucleus is able to keep Mitch McConnell in line. Mitch McConnell doesn't even like Donald Trump. And anyone at this point in time, I mean, when you got Rudy Giuliani calling Republicans all around the country to essentially berate the Republican legislature in Pennsylvania, then you're talking about a really, really small group of people, but they have incredible power. And so it's really crazy to me, but I don't know if Trump will ever be truly defeated. I think he's going to go out swinging. I don't think he's already said he's not going to go to Biden's inauguration. He's not going to have Biden come over to the White House. He's not going to have that meeting like all outgoing presidents have. He's not going to do any of it. So, it's really questionable what's going to happen. And then we haven't even spoken about Bill Barr. Bill Barr, the U.S. Attorney General, like Senator Lindsey Graham, actually not even like Senator Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham asked for the evidence. Bill Barr didn't even ask because Bill Barr doesn't believe there's any evidence to begin with. Now, would Trump fire the Attorney General? I mean, he's fired some people, mid-level people, but he hasn't actually fired a secretary. Not recently. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he did fire a high up a member of the Pentagon, but he hasn't fired a secretary. Would he fire his Attorney General? I don't know. But when somebody asks Donald Trump, they say, well, what do you think of Bill Barr? And he's like, ask me that question in a few weeks. I mean, that sent shockwaves throughout Washington, D.C. and the United States and throughout the world. The Attorney General is the equivalent in many countries of the Minister of Justice. It is a really, really high up there position, guys. A really high up there position. And he wanted to use Bill Barr initially to go after some of these states that were not going to decertify immediately. He wanted to use Bill Barr and the DOJ to essentially find cases where cases didn't exist. So basically what his legal team is doing now, paid for by his campaign, I believe he wanted Bill Barr to do, paid for by us. And Bill Barr wouldn't do it. And not only that, but I don't think Bill Barr, I said that I don't think, I know because he's been very candid about it. Bill Barr doesn't believe that there was electoral fraud or vote rigging. He doesn't believe that theories about Dominion. And it's not because they're not true or false. It's because there's no evidence. In other words, he knows that the allegations aren't true because there's no evidence. But it's just that it's mind-boggling to me that Trump believes that people make determinations of what's true or what's false based on loyalty, not reality. And it's like that's like a really, really kind of blind fanaticism that he requires from all of his supporters. And if they don't give it to him, then he cuts them off. Now, at this point, some people are probably asking themselves, well, what does it mean to get cut off from an administration that literally has 45 days left in office? I don't know. But that goes back to the power of that small nucleus, which constantly gets smaller and smaller and smaller, wields over the Republican Party. I don't think Republicans want to be perceived as soft, even in the face of just complete debunkment of everything that they stand for. Every case, there has not been a single case. Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, they have not been able to get a win anywhere. I mean, not anywhere. They haven't been able to get a win at the local level, at the state level, at the district federal level, at the Court of Appeals federal level. The United States Supreme Court, SCOTUS, does not want to give them standing, does not want to hear their case. Judge Alito has given the states the response deadline that's 1 day after safe harbor. So therefore, President Trump's done. But his legal team keeps fighting because Rudy Giuliani's got to keep making that $20,000 a day, farting on Jenna Ellis, and setting up press conferences at landscaping facilities or whatever. And it's not even messed up that it was a landscaping business. It's messed up that it was next to a crematorium and an adult bookstore. It's messed up that this guy is just so like out there. It doesn't matter because he's putting out these videos, guys, you know, the path to victory or whatever it's called on his YouTube channel. It's insane. It's insane that somebody who at one point in time, guys, look, you could be Republican, Democrat, socialist, conservative, whatever. But at one point in time, Rudy Giuliani was a really good lawyer, guys. He broke up the mafia in New York City. When he says, I know crooks, he does. He took down a significant portion of organized crime in New York City. He was a very, very good attorney, a very good attorney. He wasn't a good mayor, in my opinion, because he had the whole broken glass policy where civil rights were violated. They had Terry searches, they had pat downs, it was a police state. I mean, New York City was a really rough and dirty city. They had porno theaters, they had, you know, derelicts all around the streets, they had graffiti everywhere. You could not go out at night. I think there was a better way to fix New York City, but Dinkins didn't do it, Koch didn't do it. Giuliani came around and he made it a police state, and the graffiti went away and the crime went down, but so did the civil liberties. People had less civil liberties. Cops could come up and just grope you basically and check you all over without any even reasonable suspicion. They could just arbitrarily make a checkpoint and just search you. Fourth Amendment be gone. Fifth Amendment be gone. It was a police state. He eradicated crime, but you know, he cleaned up the city. There's no more porno theaters. Now you got Disney and you got you know, like all sorts of like, you know, Fortune 500 companies in a spot that used to be nothing but hookers and porno theaters and drug addicts. And now it's like clean, but at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, but he was an effective mayor, you know, from a political point of view that I don't agree with, but he was an effective mayor. Can't take that away from him. He was an amazing attorney, but look at what he's become now. I mean, he's become a joke. And look, even though there's that little nucleus that still wields all this power with the Republicans and the conservatives and still somehow keeps everyone in line as they go day by day closer to January 20th, within that nucleus, the vast majority probably think that Rudy Giuliani is either a shill or just completely out of his mind. They're not going to say it, but they know it. I mean, you know, they have not been able to score a single win anywhere on any level. So, you know, it's just one of those things. But if the Supreme Court won't hear the cases, if Trump could not get the legislators in Michigan that he brought to the White House, that he tried to really lean on, he couldn't get them to act. Then they tried to get the legislators in Pennsylvania to act. That's why I almost hit myself with the phone. That's why Rudy Giuliani is saying that, you know, he's ashamed of them, that they let America down, that Republicans need to, like, you know, tell them what they think of them, because that's another state where Republicans in power dropped the ball, according to Rudy, and according to that, like, bizarre little nucleus, just like the lawmakers in Michigan dropped the ball. So the Republicans at the state level are not going to come through. The Republicans at the federal level, like your Mitch McConnells, your Rand Pauls, they are supportive and they parrot the rhetoric, but are they actually going to go on the Senate floor, on the House floor, and fight against the election? I don't think so, but we have to wait and see. The Supreme Court is not going to lend itself to this kind of these malarkey, as Joe Biden would say. So without the Supreme Court, without the Republican legislatures, now it's like it all is going to drop down on those electors, those poor electors. Now, Electors don't have to vote according to the popular vote. They're supposed to, and 99.9% of the time they do. In 1976, an elector for Ford voted for Reagan. Reagan wasn't running. Reagan had already lost the primaries. Ford had won the nomination. Very, 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 very close nomination, but he won it. He was the incumbent president. Ford from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the only president of the United States that was not elected to be president of the United States. He wasn't a vice president on a vice presidential ticket. Spiro Agnew got fired. Nixon brought on Ford. Nixon resigned. Ford got in and pardoned him. That pardon cost Ford his reelection, in my opinion. And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And then there's also the possibility that Donald Trump resigns on January 19th. Mike Pence becomes president for 10 hours and pardons Trump. That's also a possibility, though I don't think so. I don't think Mike Pence would lend himself to that. I don't think Mike Pence would fall on his sword for Donald Trump and totally ruin his political career. I don't think Mike Pence would do that. Would Trump try to do it? Yes. Will Trump try to pardon his kids? Yes. Will Trump try to pardon Rudy if he can? Yes. Why? What did Rudy do? Well, Rudy did a lot so far with all of these lawsuits. Rudy actually can get prosecuted, and that's what I think Julian's talking about with Letitia James. And Rudy can easily get disbarred. You know, Bill Clinton got disbarred while he was president of the United States. Why? Because when he was on the stand, he said, I did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. And he lied. He had oral sex with her or something. And it's like he got disbarred. He lost his law license. And Rudy does not want to lose his law license. That's why Rudy says one thing in court and says another thing at press conferences. So I guess we shall see. I mean, there's always a possibility that Trump can flip some electors, but he would have to flip 100 electors, basically. And I just don't see how that can possibly happen, short of there being some kind of a conspiracy of some sort. In America, we don't have coup d'etats. But if Trump somehow could get a couple of generals together, you know, you never know. That's the thing with Trump. You just don't know. When a reporter asked Trump, they said, well, will you leave the White House on January 20th? He said, of course I will. You don't even have to ask him yet. Well, yeah, we do have to ask you that because, you know, look, if there was ever a president that would try to stay in there when it was his time to go, it would be this president. I think that with everything that's gone on, with every single news network calling this election for Biden, with pretty much the entire world recognizing Biden as president, he still doesn't. So could there ever be a situation where a president tries to hold on? Yes. And this is that president. You know what I mean? The idea that he's not going to have Biden come to the White House, the idea that he's not going to be at the inauguration, the idea that he has dragged his feet and his team have not given valuable national security information and briefings to the incoming president is so irresponsible and so like it's hard to believe that we're even talking about this on December 4th. I understand, guys, like the day after the election, the week after the election, maybe even for the month of November, if he wanted to dig in and fight. But here we are now under 50 days away, and he's still acting like he's going to have a second term. He's pulling all the troops out of Somalia. He's pulling out tons of troops from Afghanistan, leaving skeleton forces, by the way. What happens? Afghanistan, there was only 4,500 U.S. personnel. He's brought back half of that, more than half of that. That's a very noble thing. I would love for all the troops to come home. But what he's doing is he may be pulling troops out too soon, too fast, meaning too soon, not that they haven't been there long enough, but he's doing it as his administration is withering down to the days. And so, you know, if he, 4,500 is maybe a little bit more than an expeditionary force. That is hardly a military presence. If he brings back 60% of that force, then the 40% that are still there could be susceptible to attack. They could become vulnerable, and there could be, an issue there. He brings back all the troops in Somalia. Somalia, I mean, that's the country where Black Hawk Down was from. Remember that movie? I mean, unless Somalia has become like Switzerland, you pull all the American troops out of there, there could be a civil war there next week. Yeah, I mean, look at Saigon. Saigon, the last helicopter that like left the U.S. embassy in Saigon, the next day, the whole South Vietnamese Republic fell. Some of these, democracies and some of these states that have achieved some semblance of normalcy have only done so because we're there. Now, a lot of conservatives say, well, we're opposed to nation building. Nation building is wrong. I kind of agree. Like, I don't want our troops all around the world. But once our troops do go around the world, commitments are built. And people rely on our troops to be there to maintain semblance of government, human rights, civic liberties, and if we just pull them all out, because that's the thing, guys. That's the thing that concerns me about everything that Trump is doing and may still do in the next 40 to 45 days. If he believes that he's done, that he cannot get that second term, then he may either, as the graphic for this video shows, lose with honor, which he's not going to do because he's not going to have Biden at the White House and he's not going to, be at the inauguration. But he could at least, show a little bit of class. But he could also try to leave just the biggest mess possible. And hopefully he doesn't do that. He could sack Bill Barr. He could, purge the DOJ. He could fire the FBI director, which is a 10-year term. He could do all sorts of things. He could really mess things up. And he could, drag his feet with regards to whatever they can in terms of transition possible. He can make it very difficult. He can, create tension with countries that are strong allies. He can create tensions with countries who are our enemies who have been at bay. He can do a lot. He can really do a lot to make Biden's first 100 days an almost guaranteed failure. And so I don't know what he's capable of. For a man that says he loves America as much as Trump does, he surely doesn't show it. He loves Trump, and then maybe he loves America. But that's the thing. I mean, I'm concerned. But, with Lindsey Graham demanding evidence, with Bill Barr not lending himself or the DOJ to Trump's whims, it gives me a little bit of hope as we get closer to January 20th that this will be a smooth as it can be transition. But Giuliani will keep farting away, and we'll see what happens. Right. Yeah, say hello to my little fart. And I got to say, I really admire Jenna Ellis. She sat there, and you could see the facial demeanor. Like, it was a nasty fart. Like, I don't know if Rudy's doing keto, but it was and he did it twice. And he didn't even do it like without noise. You heard it. I mean, so it was pretty disgusting. And he didn't care. And he's not deaf. He's crazy, but he's not deaf. He heard it. He didn't care. And he figures, well, Jenna over here, she's co-counsel. If one day she wants to get where I'm at, well, then she's just, he's just nuts. He's nuts. He's obviously kidding, but he's nuts. I mean, it's crazy. And I don't know. I'm speechless. I am speechless that here we are December 4th and we still are like, and he's still talking, guys. He's still saying it's a stolen election, and he is making his little nucleus that gets smaller and smaller around the world, around the country. He's got some around the world too. The president of Brazil, the president of Chile. He's got some like zealot supporters in other governments. But I mean, here, that small little nucleus of supporters, he's got them out there for 10, 12, 15 hours protesting an election that wasn't stolen. And let me tell you something, guys. I've protested for 3 or 4 hours. But you talk about protesting 10, 11, 12 hours, you start to get a little angry. You know what I mean? And you start repeating the same thing over and over again. You start to feel like a zombie. You know what I mean? I just think he needs to tone down the rhetoric. And look, if he wants to run in 2024, great. Run in 2024. But just lose with some honor. You lost. But he won't. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and show this comment. This is a good comment here. It's a good live. I don't know how many people actually came through, but I do know that a lot of people are going to watch this after it's live, so that's cool. And I know that a lot of people are kind of they're kind of like a little disappointed. They're like, why is a bodybuilding channel doing politics? Well, guys, because again, Strength Addicts is me. And so if me likes politics, then Strength Addicts likes politics is what it is. You know what I mean? But I'm just real happy that I have this platform, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. And I will have a graphic made for future political videos and do some lives as well here for bodybuilding and everything. So one thing though about the Strength Addicts channel though that I find to be a little cumbersome is the fact that nearly 25,000 subscribers, but YouTube changed the whole game about 2 years ago with the bell and the notifications and all that. So 25,000 subscribers, I can maybe hit 100 or 200 sometimes, depending. And it's very sad because I feel that it's a disservice, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, in my mind, I've got 0 subscribers. So if you subscribe, I appreciate it, and we build again. And it's about expression, and it's about getting the word out, and that's what Strength Addicts is all about. It's always about. It was founded in August of 2008. It's almost like a child of mine. It's like a 12-year-old child of mine. I love Strength Addicts. It's everywhere. It's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud. It's everywhere. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. It's been real. It's been fun. Take care of yourselves and each other, and don't sit next to Rudy Giuliani because he'll fart on you.